Hi. So Simon Sensei,
Yes.
I have no idea which number this is, but we don't have any guests today.
Well,
just me and you,
we'll
I'm afraid.
just have to just talk the same old nonsense.
Yeah, just me and you. So,
And can I point out first, this is the first one I've done just drinking water.
oh really?
Yeah, because what time is it? It's early in the morning.
It's 11 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock a.m. and even I'm not having a drink.
So we got no drink, no special guest. We're going
If
to
only we could somehow get someone interesting to come on.
What up? It's your favourite two lads talking the karate.
So as I said, if only we could get someone interesting to come on. Cheers, boys.
So cheers.
So who have we got on today?
Well, all the way from Roscommon.
Oh, will I say my name?
Most people won't know who you are. So
And also tell the viewers where we are.
We're at the Hombu Dojo. My name is Ru. This is Ross.
What up?
Hombu Dojo. We are the esteemed host of the Hombu Dojo Podcast. So these guys have come onto our turf to host their own podcast with us as special guests. And we're very, very
because
pleased
our
to have
podcast is famous enough to go on tour.
it. Oh, okay.
Very
Please
good.
say,
Very
please
Yeah.
say.
So we're in Dublin, Ireland, for anyone who doesn't know where Dublin
And it's
is.
the first one that we've done that's not on Zoom.
Yeah, it's the first one.
So I suppose the sound quality it will be better, and also you won't nick the green box all the time
This is true.
because you have that magic phone. I have my laptop, and you have a magic phone that takes the green box even when you're just thinking.
When they say magic phone, I mean an old phone. I can't really use.
You're like that, and all of a sudden there's a green box around. And that's why you always get the good lines, and I go, well, another thing, the meaning of. And he's going, yeah, 47. So,
The camera loves me.
yeah.
It's still questions over a beer, even if we're not drinking.
We've got good beer.
Still questions
Correct.
over a beer.
We have Corona.
Fitting.
Yes, not COVID, Corona. Okay, so, well, you always start.
Well, yeah, I'd like to just say, Ross and Ru, where are we? What's going on at the moment? And tell people about that.
Right now we're bang in the middle of our Shiron Gecko training. We've got a bunch of guests over to the dojo. We do this annually. Everyone's welcome to come over, train for free in all classes for the duration of Monday to Thursday. On the last day we have a nice big farewell party and stuff, and it's super tough, hard budo.
When you say super tough, what does the training entail exactly?
It entails punching and kicking.
Now this morning.
Well, this morning, for example, yes.
I think Ross is that jaded that it's like,
Okay.
it's just punching. Everyone else is going, oh, that was amazing. It's just punching and kicking.
It's more punching and kicking. No, for example, yesterday, in the morning, first morning session yesterday, we done our traditional Tabata training, which us instructors do every week in the dojo. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Balls to the wall as hard as you can. Short break, and you do that for 8 reps. Constantly, we do that for more or less the hour, with a couple of extra little technical pieces thrown in. Today we had the weight vests and the ankle weights on, super slow kicks with the ankle weights, which is always horrible. And weight vests moving forward and back, trying to get that explosivity in the movement, whilst making yourself even heavier, which for me just seems ridiculous. And in the evenings, very technical class from Scott Sensei on Monday, and that was the first training session that everyone came to, and very excellent technical class from Simon Sensei last night, and tonight's me. It's me tonight.
And then we normally have people from literally around the world, but because of regulations and stuff, it's not really as international.
Yeah, well, we have England, the Holland, Netherlands, and Sweden.
Yes.
That's
So
pretty
it's but often we'd have more places.
We're supposed to have
Next year.
We're supposed to have Georgians, but they're not giving out
We normally have people in
visas.
the States.
States and Canada are thinking of coming, and also a lot more from Sweden.
And some French.
What's the furthest
Some
we've
French.
had? What's the furthest we've had?
I guess Canada.
Yeah.
You had Japanese ones, didn't you?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
We had Canada, didn't we? Yeah. Canada.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still. I mean, like, we don't really want any more in the dojo. Let's be fair.
That was packed.
Dojo's
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
It's heaving.
Yeah.
Heaving. Good fun though.
Yeah. And then tomorrow we'll finish them off with a bit of not Tabata tubes, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to teach tomorrow night.
And the other question I wanted to ask, while I'm asking questions.
I think at this point though, don't you have to go and give Boo your dog a bone?
Oh yeah.
Cut! Okay, you're back. Okay.
Yeah, no. So I was just going to say, tell us about how is Carl doing at the internship? Because he's just about to finish, isn't he?
Best intern ever, I think.
How old is he?
19.
18.
18?
Carl is like the most self-sufficient. like he needs no taking care of. He needs no help.
Yeah.
He just like without being asked, he just does everything. It's great.
He was looking good. Yeah. So I mean, what? Just to tell people if they don't know, what? Because you've done the internship route. Tell us about your.
I did a terrible job. No.
Must be bittersweet with Roscoe. Best intern
No,
we've
it's
ever
okay.
had.
No, I can see that Carl is a very.
Did you do the living
his name is-
the dojo?
Yeah, I
experience?
slept on that couch
Yeah.
for a month.
So
Listen, there are worse things that have happened on that couch since. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen him.
But tell I mean, you know, can anyone do the internship? How's that?
They had to be HDKI members,
Yeah.
ish, or extremely HDKI friendly. I suppose. Well, no, I suppose Tony from Sweden wasn't HDKI, and neither was Pallavi. However, they became
They're friends, aren't they?
they were extremely HDKI friendly, and then they became members of the Hombu Dojo whilst here.
Ah.
So they had to be HDKI members.
Showdown and above?
And Shotokan above, yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's probably it. I mean, we can tell the story about the worst. Okay,
Let's not worst of, yeah.
The worst intern.
What was your jobs?
Yeah, tell the best of it.
The purpose of the internship, first of all, is not just the hard training, although the training is really hard, but it's to be integrated to exactly how this dojo is run. And this dojo is run in a very special way because it's unique in Ireland, well, nearly totally unique in Ireland in that it's a permanent premises just for karate with a team of professionals running it. So you don't get to see that everywhere you go. So we have a special way of teaching, special way of training, and it's to become completely integrated in that, and also to train your bollocks off and to hopefully have a little spike in your progress.
What's a day in the life though? Day one, what happens on day one? Roughly.
Let me think. Okay, so back in the day, back when I was doing it, Neil used to come along at 6 a.m. and do his private physical personal training sessions. So you'd be up really early and you'd have the kettle on when instructors arrive and you do morning training, and I was very green at the time, so I was nearly dead on the floor. And
Most people struggle with the training when they come here, don't they?
Yeah, so every instructor's training. I was also trying really hard to impress and to do my best, so I was going to the max every time. And then I was training in every adult class, and I was assisting in all the kids' classes that happened in the dojo.
How many classes a day then is that?
It was peak term time, so sometimes assisting in 4 or 5 classes in the day, and also training like on a Wednesday, morning training, 10 a.m. class, and then 2 classes in the evening, so that's 4 hours on a Wednesday, and something similar every other day. On Saturday.
Off?
Huh? A day off?
Yeah.
Nope. Oh yeah, Fridays and Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as now.
Yeah.
And it was great. I loved it. I was, I had only, I had my showdown for I think not very long, a few months, and my level in karate just went like whoop, with the internship. And I had so much to work with when I went back to Cork, and I was training in the dark in a handball alley because it was €2 to power the lights. €2 for 45 minutes. So that meant €4 a training session. So I just trained in the dark. And and I had a lot to work with then. I was just repeating everything I'd done on the internship.
And on the internship, I mean, you get like expenses?
You get a little allowance. You get €100 a week. It's free, so you don't pay to do the internship. You get a place to stay. I mean, you're never wanting. You get that allowance, but you probably have your breakfast bought and your pints bought in the evening. So it's the friendliest Kenshusei program I think in the whole world.
But also very hard.
Yes.
Yeah. So what about the worst one?
No, I don't just So the intern gets €400. So basically the first couple of days that they're here, envelope €400. That's for your food. And generally speaking, food and that, all they need to basically do is get here. So we've had loads of people come from abroad, so all they need to do is pay for their return flight, And depending on what you do, the €400 will last you, and it might not. But like, there's cooking facilities here, so you can eat really cheaply from Lidl down the road and stuff. So we look after them. But the worst is the
well, they
guy
didn't really do
I
the
can-
internship.
I can tell you from my perspective, I was on holiday and then came back from my holidays and was going to go and teach in Barcelona with Didak's group, and I had a day between arriving back in Dublin and my flight out to Barcelona, and I thought, I arrived sort of late afternoon, and I was like, oh, I'll go and see the guys after training, and see how the new intern's doing, because he'd been there for 3 days.
Yeah, he arrived on the Sunday, I think. Or no, he arrived on the Friday, and I was away, and AJ had picked him up, and then he'd watched the training on the Saturday, which I thought was a bit odd, because I wasn't going to be there until the Monday. So he didn't. There was no training on the Sunday because it was August, I think, and so I arrived on the Monday, and so the Monday night was his first session. So he'd done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you saw him on the.
I saw him on Thursday, and on the walk after training, we were going for a pint after, and it was Tommy that came up to me and said, "We're a man down." I was like, "What do you mean we're a man down?" He's like, "He's gone." I was like, "What do you mean? He's going?" He's like, "He's
How
away."
many
He's
days?
away. After 4 days of training.
Well, after 2 sessions, he decided he was going. So he did the Monday night, which is kata night.
Yeah, hard kata.
And he was, and he came off. He goes, "Oh, that was really tough training." I was like,
Tomorrow's the battle.
and then I mean, to be fair, it was hot. It was island hot, so not really hot. And we did a good Tabata session, and he came off and he was like, "Scott, can I have a word?" And I was like, we stood here and the sofa was over there, and I was like, and everyone else had gone, and we walked from literally here to where the camera is, and by the time he got there, he was really upset, and he was like, "This is not for me, I've got to go home." And like, he'd just taken a month off work and said goodbye to his family, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "You're all professional instructors. Like, I can't do this." And I was like, "Well, hang on a minute. Ross was, so you were away.
Yeah.
You went there, weren't you?"
No, this is before my time.
This is just me.
AJ. So it's just AJ, and then there was Tommy, Sean, Karen, and I was like, so there wasn't that many in the group. I was like, well, Tommy's a chef, Sean's a chef, Karen is a IT
Computer guy.
a computer guy. I said, it's only me and AJ that are professional. I said, it's fine. Like, don't worry. We'll get you through this. Like, yeah, it's maybe a bit of a shock to the system, but we'll get you through it. And he was like, oh, okay. And then I got a text from him a few hours later saying, I've been speaking to the airline company and they can change my flight. I can fly home on whatever day, Friday, whatever it was. And so I was Tuesday morning, so I kind of said, look, I'll be down, give me half an hour. So I came down, wouldn't have normally done, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean you're going home? He's like, oh, this is not for me. I thought, well, we just had a conversation a couple of hours ago about, don't worry about it. Yeah. It's shock, jet lag, change it, blah, 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 we'll get you through this. And you were like, oh, okay. And now you're telling me you're leaving. And he's like, yeah. I was like, look, he says, they haven't confirmed that I can go then. So, they're going to ring me back. I was like, look, give it a couple of days. When they ring back, just say, when's the latest you can make the decision to catch that flight on Friday? Because if you're changing your flight, it's still available, blah, blah, blah. Just ask them that question. Right you are. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. And so he trained Tuesday night, apparently went okay. Trained Wednesday morning, we kind of took care of him. He was okay. And then he trained the Thursday. I was doing the same on the Wednesday night. He trained the Thursday morning. And then Thursday morning, he said goodbye to AJ. He's like, oh, AJ, thanks very much. I won't see you again. I was like, why? Well, I'm going home tomorrow.
Sneaky.
And I was like, oh well, they rang and they said I could go, and my work is telling me that I really need to go back and work. I was like, okay.
Remember what AJ, because AJ drove him to the airport again,
Yeah.
and AJ dropped him off, shook his hand and said, "You'll regret this for the rest of your life."
Yeah. But really, like, not to disparage him too much, really, that was entirely our fault.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Sounds like you did your best.
Oh, we did our best, but it was entirely our fault, my fault, I guess, in the sense that I didn't vet him enough. I didn't explain to him exactly what this was. Now, in some ways, my mitigating is that he's a grown man, and you know he's capable of making his own decisions. But really, I think not that the fault. It's not that blame was to be given, but it was. I learned a lesson that when someone comes over to do this, they need to understand exactly what it is. And so after that, I started to get people to write their experiences in the book, right? And so there's an intern book, which we'll have to get Carl to do it, and just so they can read it. But obviously by that point it's probably too late. But like just to have that kind of memory of people who've done the internship. So yeah.
Because the oldest person to do it was David Pope Sensei.
Yeah.
And he did well on it. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's not
Like,
a
again,
uniform. It's not a flat race. Like,
We push you as far as you're willing to be pushed, but we don't try and break. We don't try and break anyone.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
in
Is
that
like,
sense.
you know,
Because you're here for a month, and ultimately you're here to improve and learn. And pushing someone to their limit. Some people, like for example, Carl needs to be pushed to his limit because he's 18.
Yeah.
You know, but like somebody who's a little bit older, who's coming to learn more of the business / teaching side of it. You know, they've done their hard training in their life. You know, they're there for something a little bit.
Well, they still have to engage in the morning training and do their reps and
They still have to improve.
We all need to sweat.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, like you're more likely. Like Carl isn't a slacker, but if Carl was slacking, you'd be more likely to be like, Carl, what the fuck? But if you looked over and you thought David Pope Sensei wasn't keeping up with everybody else, you'd be like, that's fine. You know, he's done his time.
Well, you also know that David Pope Sensei will be doing his very best.
Oh yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing. As long as you see them doing their best, and there's again a big spectrum of what people's best is. If we're seeing them do their best, then that's their best. But no, I think to give up.
And how many people have done it roughly?
6.
No, it's like 12 or 13.
Yeah, so I was thinking 16. No.
Oh, 16.
Oh, I thought
I think maybe is Carl maybe the 14th?
14.
something like that.
Maybe 14, 15.
That's approximately right.
Yeah.
I remember the one Kevin from America always says. He says, remember on the last day he was feeling quite poorly, and he was. And I walked in.
He had a hot foot, to be fair. His foot was like that, and like not like that.
With the leg.
No, it was like flapping at the bottom, wasn't it? All of his foot was like,
oh no!
I don't think I want to train. It was like, and he taped it up together.
But we were all getting ready. He wasn't changed ready. I was like, well, you're not training?
Well, the previous to that was he came in and he was like, Sensei, and my foot, and he's like, his foot's like, flapping. He says, I think I've pushed myself. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Whatever you want to do. And that was it. And then he came in.
And I heard the excuse, and I was like, go and put your fucking dogi on, stand there and hit the makiwara for an hour. We're not going to make you do anything if you're... Just don't miss the last day of training.
Your last fucking day of training. Get on that.
Also, he didn't know. He didn't know that he was going to be allowed to just hit makiwara. You know, he was afraid he was going to be forced to do more footwork drills.
Or back leg drive.
Well, that's when you go in Japan, right?
Yeah.
And you get a certificate, yeah?
Certificate, yeah. And you do a class, and you write the name on the wall, and
I respect.
I know.
I respect.
And
No, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent. But so in terms of interns, do you have it, like, so you're talking about vetting people to some extent? What would be the criteria for someone turning someone down?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily. I think probably vetting is the wrong word. I think explaining to people in full what will be expected of them. So when they do fail, they fail without me feeling guilty.
Yeah, that makes
I mean,
sense.
it's purely selfishly, kind of like whereas with
You never want to fail people.
I don't want people to fail. I want to support them and try to allow them to fulfill their potential. But you know, if they do, I explain to them clearly, or we all explain to them clearly what's expected of them, what they'll have to do, and then they, with bravado, go, yeah, I can do that, and they fail, and then that's their fault. So yeah. Well, we will see, because we've got two more. Oh no, we've got two more on the books ready to do at least. Yeah. So Matthew Last is doing it in October, and Rick Harpen is talking about doing it next year sometime.
Because no one from GB's done it yet. So that's really,
Really?
yeah. People have said they were going to do it.
It's soft over there, eh?
No, it is. Yeah, I blame
The whole of Britain,
all Britain.
from the tip of Scotland down to the tip of.
Scottish people know better than to join the HDKI.
Quite a few people have said they were going to do it, and then they haven't done it, you know.
We still need. Stewart and Ru still plans on doing it. Just when.
Yeah. When the time's right. I mean, you know, it's a bit. You know, you've been asking for a month.
It's a month,
life.
yeah.
And it's a hard, you know, it's a big commitment, you know.
Absolutely.
2 years in Japan, or 2.5 in some cases.
Yeah.
Or longer, unending.
7 years here.
Well, I mean that's a difference. So like
It's completely different.
the instructor's course in Japan, I think
You can't compare it.
no. I
I
mean,
think
I think in many ways the I'd hope to think that there's lots of differences, but like if you want at the end of the process for there to be a well-rounded professional instructor, then the 2 or 3 years that they have the Kenshusei in Japan is maybe comparable to the the 5, 6, 7 years that like you guys are doing here. I mean, like in many ways they are very different, and I'm sure if people listen to go, that's bullshit. Like, you know, there's no way you can replicate what happens in Japan, and that's true. However, there's certain aspects that you can replicate in a much healthier and sustainable way, I think.
Yeah. And I think also what you get for 7 years here is you get teacher training. You get massive experience of teacher training where you can do Kenshusei, come out an amazing karate cat, but not be very good at teaching.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. For sure. So a question for you guys.
Are we allowing them to?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, can we very rarely get
We're
questions.
taking over.
As long as it's not fail of the week, they can.
So karate has now had its time in the Olympics. It's brief spark on the big stage. Did you watch? Did you care? What do you think? Good thing, bad thing? People's reactions? Because there's been a lot of stuff online and massive opinions being thrown about by a lot of people. Some very high level respected karateka and stuff.
Well, I got 2 things to say about that. The first thing is that I had tickets to see karate in the Olympics, and so yeah. Okay, that's my fail of the week. Move on. So they were like the golden ticket, right? And I would have been there, just sat behind Kagawa Sensei.
He got cancelled. He got.
Yeah. Okay, what was it like being cancelled, Sensei? That's not going out, is it?
Oh, leave that.
Yeah, I don't do any editing. I can't be asked. unless Boo the crazy dog barks. No editing. No, so me and my family would have been there watching the Karate Olympics, and it would have been fantastic, and it would have been I was genuinely excited about going to see it, not particularly about just seeing the karate, because I think if you went to see any international WKF competition, it'd be far better in terms of the variety of athletes competing. I mean, it was just 10 per category, right? So, and 1 Japanese guaranteed because they were the host, plus 9 other people from all over the world. So, yeah, I mean, there was no one from Ireland, no one from the UK, you know, so limited interest in that sense. But just the spectacle of it in the Budokan would have been brilliant. And so I was a little bit disappointed. And therefore, the whole Olympics, I would have watched a whole lot more. Firstly, I was on holiday I was away for 10 days. So the first 10 days of the Olympics, I was away. and the last thing I wanted to do was watch TV. So we didn't see anything. Got back the last 2 or 3 days. I saw a little bit. I kind of YouTubed a few of the fights, but I wasn't that interested. And I think mainly because I wanted to be there to watch the spectacle of it, not particularly see the karate. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't particularly interested. I saw a bit. We watched a bit.
Yeah.
But so that was that one thing. But and the other thing I would say about what people are saying online, like I was reading comments from people that I respect and think highly of, and just first of all it started with the taekwondo. You go through every 4 years, karateka go, I hope no one thinks that I do that. Who are you saying that to? All the other karateka that you know on Facebook? Or is it your little Auntie Doris who thinks, is that what you do? I'm going to tell her on Facebook that that's not what I do. Like, who are you saying that to? Like, and then when they went to onto the karate, and like there was then maybe a different group of people, but equally vehemently saying this doesn't represent me. Like, it's not important. Mm-hmm. If you're doing karate, then be confident in your karate that you do. Don't feel the need to put down taekwondo to elevate you. Don't feel the need to put down sports karate to elevate your traditional nature. Like, they are brilliant athletes. Whether doing taekwondo, I defy anybody in karate to kick as fast as they do. And sure, it's two amazing kickers trying to, like was it you were saying, trying to neutralize each other.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
Like, and so it kind of looks a little bit kind of rough and ready and knees up and everything, but amazing athletes who can produce kicks like that, that should be respected, and you don't need to put them down to elevate yourself. And the same with the sports karate. Any of those traditionalists who are saying, oh, that's not real karate, go and stand in front of one of them.
Like, go and try and survive one of Agiev's plyometric sessions.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Don't try to survive one of Agiev's punches. You know, he'll
try and punch him. Try and punch him. See how you go.
Absolutely.
Like, see how your judo works out.
I mean, bang!
I mean, it's like teleport.
I punched and then I'm upside down.
I think the only thing I'd add is, I mean, what did we expect? It's the Olympic Games, it's Olympic sports karate, and it was the best Olympic sports karate. It's just, that's what it is. You don't, no one died, no one had to, no, because it's a sport, isn't it? And that's it. I mean, we particularly didn't like it. It's not like some of it, didn't like some of it, but it is what it is, and it was very good. And the kata, not my cup of tea, but wow, they're very athletic.
Is it that different if you talk about people who disparage it from, Kagawa and Yahara sort of standing in front of each other and just waiting for that one moment to go? It's no different in my opinion. Like, it's
different rules. I mean, any activity, it's like taekwondo. The rules have made it like that. Judo now has become very, you could say, dull, because no one's getting a throw in because it's 1 point one thing. So it was what it was. But people project what they want it to be. It's like, oh, I went to the ballet. Everyone was singing. So if you go to watch Olympic karate, that's what it is. And
it's like what like on one of our infinitely better podcasts, Mark.
One more.
Yeah,
one more. One more.
What Mark Grenwald said in Japan, like he had that lovely line, it's outside what's important.
That's right.
And because we were talking to him about kind of, probably didn't watch it, did you? It's too intellectual. Mark from Japan. And we were talking about kind of hierarchy and how sometimes he gets, as a businessman, as a kancho in a business owner in Japan, sometimes he can be a little bit snubbed because he's foreign, and people will call him kind of Mark or Mark. Like there's all those subtle ways that people can disparage you. And Simon asked him, how does that make you feel? And he said, that's outside what's important. And he just lets it wash over.
Really good answer.
It's a really nice. It's just like you let it wash over you. Yeah, okay. That's like, and it's like why are people getting wound up about what they're doing, and they're not getting wound up about the show jumping? It could be like
flying horses around the world. That's what I know more than anything.
or they're not getting wound up by, I don't know, like some swimming contest. Like, they are so far removed away from what we do that you should marvel at their athleticism rather than comparing them to you and realizing that you're not as athletic as them, so I'm going to disparage them for this and this criteria that you decided that they're not playing by.
Us.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Are you on the same page as that? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I haven't come up I haven't come up through competition style karate at all. So if I was ever going to have any competition glory days, the time is gone.
I suppose one thing I was hoping for was maybe, because on the BBC in England it was hot, it was on at 2 a.m, and there was probably about one short. I found one short clip of it, so not many people saw it because Britain GB got no medals, so Taekwondo was on more because people were winning. So probably not many people saw it. People, non-karate people, hardly anybody saw it.
I would like to say that a number of years ago, when it was announced that karate was going to be in the Olympics and how it was going to be, people were talking a lot about the Olympic effect on karate.
Yeah, I was.
And that didn't happen at all.
And I remember saying there'll be zero effect because, firstly, the WKF championships will be far, far better, far bigger, and so if the WKF events are not televised and not kind of being shown and having an impact, then these won't. And like anything and everything that's happened to, like everything that the WKF has created or change that the WKF has created in the landscape of karate, in terms of, you've got that like 10% of the karate population is doing sports karate, 10% of the population are doing, has to be kind of Japanese based karate, and that 80% in the middle just want to do good karate, and it might be a bit sporty, it might be a bit traditional, it's just wherever they end up. I said whatever changes that the WKF have created have already happened, and the Olympics will make no difference. And I said also it won't be televised because there'll be nobody from the UK, nobody from Team GB, nobody from Team Ireland in it, because it's such a small pool. And I was right.
You know what? The biggest impact would be 13-year-old girls winning medals. It was wonderful. Skateboarding and
that'd be a far better.
That triple BMX we saw today.
Yeah.
I mean, young people are going to be watching that, and you see more people on skateboards, which is great.
Skateboarding is exploding in Ireland.
Well, it was fantastic. 13-year-old girl gets a medal. It's brilliant. And they all came on. It was very cool. They didn't have uniforms. They could kind of wear roughly what they want. It was like really democratization of sport. It was brilliant.
Okay. So, my question.
Let me open this.
You'll need more than that. So, tell us about your future plans, young nippy youngsters.
I don't even know what your future plans are at the moment. Well, you make something up there in the next 2.5 minutes. I am coming up to the milestone, which is 3 years teaching full time at the Hombu Dojo.
What grade are you now?
Nidan. I just said Sandan. In my head, I'm already.
That's key, man. Key.
You wouldn't have felt like that if you'd said it.
Very quickly.
Quick thought would have been.
I'm asking these questions for the audience. I know you're a fake Sandan.
This time next year, I'll be a Sandan on paper.
Will you?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's very cocky.
It is, isn't it? Remember that time.
Okay. This time next year, I don't know. I might pass or fail my Sandan.
How important is humility in karate?
How about I'm going to try my hardest and grade for my Sandan next summer?
Nah, man.
Yeah, great. Not fail. Okay, anyway.
Continue, young Padawan.
If you believe it, you can achieve it.
This 3-year mark I see as halfway. So 3 years time, I'm going to be like the Roadrunner. and I've a plan. I'm saving up on my. It feels weird to be telling everybody.
Well, make it happen. If you say it, you have to do it.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I know
You're
it's gonna.
empowering
I already know it's gonna happen. It's just when you share big plans, there's a little bit of like, ooh, you know what? You know,
So
everybody's
put
looking
yourself
at me
out
now.
there.
Everybody
we
knows
won't
what I
judge you
expect
if
to
you're on
do.
the dry cleaners in Donegal.
What? Throwing in dry cleaners in Donegal. Okay. Yes. So 3 years from now, I'm saving up all my money. I need enough money so that I can spend a year traveling. I caught the traveling bug a long time ago, and I've never been able to do anything about it. So I've got a world trip planned, like basically all the exotic and fantastic places you can think of. I'm going to go visit them. And I'm going to need enough money to keep that up for a full year. And I've got lots of training stops along the way. There's a kung fu school in China that I want to go to. I'm going to go to Trieste for a while, and wherever else I feel like going.
HDI Kathmandu.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. India,
And
not for
New
training,
Zealand?
but just
Too?
Yeah. I want to go see Tuari in New Zealand. But I already wanted to sort of do some kind of hiking trip all around New Zealand because it's one of the most beautiful places in the world.
No,
And I
really.
know a few people in New Zealand actually. But then so all that gallivanting, and then somewhere along the way for the next 4 years I need to decide on a place to start my own dojo. And wherever that will be, I'll be planting the HDKI flag and saying, come on. I've got a few places in mind, but
Yeah, but I mean also your journey will help find a place.
yeah, possibly, yeah.
You know.
And visa requirements.
And visa
Help you find a place as well.
Yeah.
Anybody up for a green card marriage? You can
There's some
apply
bloke
to...
going, yeah, I will.
You can apply... Hey, why not? Hombu Dojo Podcast @gmail.com. Get your applications in. CV with a portrait.
For the next month, you'll be checking the emails.
Nothing. Wait, nothing?
Oh,
Very good.
Yeah, very good. You can always do a few teaching gigs as well, as you
While I'm
pay
gallivanting.
yourself the way
fun,
through
yeah.
across America.
That might be a good way to think about it.
I'll bring my tin whistle as well.
Think about the HDKI reputation.
You can just imagine him blowing in with the guitar strapped to his back, the long shaggy hair, what's that?
Maybe I'll be able to grow a beard by
The
then.
soul, the soul patch, just like glasses. What's up, Scott Simon?
I'm back!
I'm back and I'm taking over.
Can I borrow some money?
Oh, my bed's ready.
And myself, I had a plan set in my mind for a long while, which kind of just got swept out from under me when my relationship ended. So I had to spend a wee while trying to think.
Spend that long.
Spent a wee while trying to think, what the hell am I going to do? And I was lost for a couple of months there, and then decided, then circumstance being I met a lovely lady here, and things are going very well. So the current plan just now is to gradually transition away from the Hombu Dojo and set up my own place, either a bit further south or a bit further north, depending on availability and locations, and start my own thing. And with the
Direct competition with Scott Sensei.
absolutely.
There'll be a very clear boundary of
When
a student comes in, can I have your address, please?
You're in the North Korean section.
So it's to expand and set up my own.
So you both see your future in teaching karate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I really hope so. I've been wasting my
Well,
time.
I know. I mean, but I mean, that's again that happens, doesn't it? Because you often hear people who do the instructor's course who end up,
I think that's
a lot. Isn't
that's
it?
one of the downsides of the instructor's course is that quite a lot of people get sick of it.
Yeah.
Just get sick of karate. I mean, I remember one of my. No.
I think the key to avoiding that is you are very good at giving us the freedom to sort of do whatever we want, like in our own classes and stuff, as long as it's good and you're doing the job and people keep signing up, then you're doing a good job. And you know, sometimes I feel like sometimes you need a break from the conventional karate world. Like me, I always like to, like, today I'm going to throw in something a curveball here and do something that nobody's done before, you know, and it just gives your karate a bit more life after we learn, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't see it as not being karate.
Yeah.
Apart from that stupid moshigiri you do, but I hopefully know what.
Whereas my Yoko Tobageri is very much traditional karate.
Very respectful.
Isn't that weird? that my big flying kick, which is useless except for taking pictures, right? Is that's karate. But your very effective, painful Mawashigiri is like, no.
Just wait till you're going through Tala and some samurai on a horse attacks you. You can jump up.
Well, there actually are people riding horses. They don't call themselves samurai.
Sorry. Let's say somewhere else. I mean, one of the problems with Japanese culture is that, you know, if a nail sticks up, knock it down. So it's not nurturing in that, you know, your spirit is meant to overcome all, you know. And here, you know, taking the Mickey aside, there is a nurturing element to grow and improve, you know, and that's really important.
I mean, we often, like, again, you won't see it because we have all the guests over just now, but often we'll talk about, I saw this good thing the other day and they were doing this, did you see so-and-so's video on that? And we'll discuss and give it a go. If we see something that we like, we always try it out and either go, that's great, or no, not for us. Yeah. We're always experimenting, which is great.
But I mean, if you're stuck in a system where it's just very narrow, this way, you know, this way or the highway, like, you know, Japanese university students often, you know, when they graduate from college and the team guys who aren't going to do anything, they never do karate again, don't they? Famously burn their dogi. Yeah, and there's an interview with someone, you know, one of the lesser universities, but it's still good, you know, 10 years somewhere. And he just said, what are you going to do when you leave? You know, are you going to become an instructor? Me? No. I'll never do karate again. Yeah.
Well, when I went to when I first went to Japan in '92. Don't say anything.
No, I was bored. I was months old.
Then I was training with like a university in Osaka, and there was the captain and vice captain. They were both 22, both fourth dan. Like I was 18, 19, shodan, and I couldn't imagine being a yondan at 22.
Yeah.
And I was like, but like, you know, like kind of not normal, but kind of you know, you think it's possible kind of thing, going through the universities, and the captain was really good. And the vice captain was strong. He was quite big, but a very lazy style to him. But like when he wanted to hit you, he just hit you. You know, you're like you couldn't get out of his way. And then we did this kind of week-long gashku with them. And then at the end we were kind of in a party and drinks. And they all could speak English. And the vice captain was saying to me, "I hate karate." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I hate it." He says, "I only do it because my parents make me do karate. They've always made me do karate. But as soon as I graduate, I don't have to do it anymore." And I thought, you're a yondan. Like, you know, like we have little kids here, don't we, who kind of the parents make them do it, and maybe if they get to green belt, we think, okay, well, fair play, we got them that far. Yeah. This guy was a yondan, and his parents go, "No, go do it." Yeah,
that's very Japanese.
Yeah.
We saw a documentary about Zen the other day on the telly, because
that's what we do.
Yeah, you sit there together drinking your green tea.
Yeah. No, but I just remember another documentary about because it's all kept in the family, and they had the dad was getting old. He had to work out which one of his sons was going to have to take over the family Zen business. And, like none of them. Yeah. And in the end, the youngest went, and he had to go do like this very hard Zen training. And he had to do that training, then he could go up, get his own temple somewhere and, you know, do weddings and all that type of stuff. Yeah, funerals, that's what they do, I think. Yeah. But it was a bit very much like he had no affinity to Zen at all, because his dad did it, someone from the family, because, you know, for 10 generations, the Tanakas or whatever have been Zen priests.
Yeah.
Are Zen priests celibate?
No. But they go through. No, but what they do is they go through like probably 5 years of ridiculous, very austere training. They have to do that, and then they're allowed to have a life.
Isn't that mad? Because most of their training is just sitting
Just
down and shutting up.
Yeah. Well, this guy, he was a very intense Eastern European guy, and, and he just said like it was either kill myself or find the mystery of life. And then he signed up and he goes, so and so has just signed up to stay at the temple forever, and then 3 months later he's left. I don't blame him. Because they do 18,000 hours of Zen, 18,000 hours of sitting a year. It was a specialist temple. I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it? I'm really, there was a lot of it we liked.
It's a good life to do
it's
something.
just really hard.
Enjoy it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the time.
It's just sitting there.
Well,
Just sit.
I mean,
Well, I mean, the thing is, he said, I was looking for something, and the title of the documentary was "Expect Nothing, Just Sit."
Yeah.
And it's a bit like the internship guy. What didn't you read?
Yeah.
You don't do anything.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You just sit down. That's it.
Yeah. But then for some, like Rick Jackson Sensei, it's amazing. He has such insight into life by having just sat and done.
I'm a big fan of Rick Sensei. I've been training with him, and it's great. I mean, he's quite good. I mean, he just says things like, you just do 10 minutes every day.
Yeah, not 18,000 hours in a year.
Yeah. But then,
for the purposes of accuracy, I think it was 1,800.
Okay. I was just
No, I think it was 180,000.
Somewhere between 1,800 and 180,000.
Or was it 18?
It was a minute a day.
Okay.
That'd be enough for me. Mind blank. Yep. Cool.
Okay, well, we last 10 minutes or so. So, guys,
We've had a lot of fun, haven't we?
Yes.
I think this was just like a Hombu Dojo podcast. There was lots of laughing, there was a lot of joking. I think it's been good.
We're glad to be here to elevate you guys.
So, to finish up, well, if you have any final questions, please feel free before we give you the killer philosophy question.
Oh gosh.
Jesus, the killer philosophy question.
That Simon Sensei's quickly thinking of.
Okay.
Questions for the senseis.
How important is etiquette? Do you feel in the dojo? So I've trained in places that etiquette is like everything. For example, Rick Houghton Sensei, I think, is a big believer in, for example, I remember one time me and Tommy asked him to look at our kata just for points after a training session. If you do it, he said yes. We've done our kata. The first thing he said is, "Why didn't we bow before you started?" And it was like, "Oh, that's a good point. Why didn't we?" And we thought, well, it's very casual. But they've got people like Rick Sensei who's very much etiquette. Rick Jackson Sensei, even the way you stand, the way you breathe, every aspect of the sort of movements that we do at the start of class, he has a really detailed explanation for each bit. And then our dojo is very much, let's get on with it. It's not really that big a deal. So, do you think it's an important thing? Why you're more relaxed?
I'm probably stricter than you. I mean, I thought there was too much talking in the dojo recently when you're teaching or
certainly with the visitors this week.
I've had a word with people about that because I said like in my Kumite class, go on Kumite, you don't talk when you're doing go on Kumite. Yeah, but I think the main problem is I think when etiquette gets in the way, I think that's a problem, or creates a tension, because if you're tense and worried about not standing exactly right, you're not going to learn, you're not going to perform well. But there is, and also then there's a faux Japanese misunderstanding of Japanese things, which is like quasi-military type, type of over tense. But I still like when you train with Rick Jackson, that you go in the dojo and you don't talk, like in Japan, and you stretch, and then as soon as he comes in, you stand up. Like when Anoda Sensei came at Mastership, we all stood up, and I quite like that for setting the drama of the event and focusing the mind. But as long as it's not overdone. So I quite like that sort of, it's a bit like theatre. It's like sets the scene for the show, but I think it's also a lot to be said for being with peers and friends and doing happy karate. So yes and no.
I mean, I think it's the theatre of etiquette.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like not to bring it down, but it's a bit like hygiene theatre that we go through at the moment with COVID. Like there's an awful lot of, hygiene theatre in the sense that people are doing things to be seen to be kind of being mindful of COVID and stopping the spread of COVID. But a lot of it is nonsensical and, basically
hypocritical.
Yeah, bullshit.
What do they call it? Hygiene?
Hygiene theatre.
Is that a Japanese word?
No, hygiene. Cleanliness.
Oh, hygiene! So,
it's a bit like,
Hygiene wa Nihongo no kotoba da yo.
Hi, sensei. Us.
Bloody idiot.
Hygiene theatre. What the fuck?
Well, it's a facade,
Yeah,
So
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Who can wash their hands for the longest? You're looking at the guy next to you.
But it's that classic thing, people who look at each other and bow and so on, they hate each other.
Yeah.
And respect is actually, you have to be well earned. So there's a mutual respect here with people.
Yeah.
And it's sort of an easy respect, isn't it?
I think I remember doing a course in Ireland, and there was a Japanese, obviously not JKS days or anything like that, but with a different organisation that I ever belonged to. And the instructor came over and we trained, and then he gave us a water break, and they that group's students got a drink, and then sat down in Cesar, waiting for the instructor to commence the training again. And I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, this is what you do in Japan." I was like, "No, it isn't. Like, I lived in Japan. This is not what you do in Japan." Now, in some extreme university gashku training situations, that would happen, where the kohai, the first years, the second years, and they'd all sit in Cesar waiting for the third and fourth years, and then they'd all resume training. But like, no one was there was doing intensive university gashku training, and no one was a first, second, third, fourth year with that kind of strict senpai kohai relationship. And also, they're in Cesar letting the lactic acid build up. Walk about, relax, stretch, get ready for the second part of the class. But it's again that theatre that they're actually, oh, this is what you do, but actually it's a disservice to their own training.
Yeah.
So if you're like Simon said, if you're so tense that you can't relax during training, then you're doing it wrong. If you're so kind of like us, but actually not taking on board what the instructor's saying to you, then you're doing this disservice. At the same time, if you're that relaxed that you're kind of chattering through class, it goes a different way. So it's about kind of getting that balance. And I think, like generally speaking, people who come into the dojo, as they come through the grades, they'll start off being very nervous anyway, and eventually, naturally, they will get that balance. I think sometimes when we get visitors, like we have this week, they come into the dojo and they go, "Oh, this is really relaxed. Oh, it's Scott, and I go for a pint with him, and Simon, and blah blah blah," and they haven't gone through that organically, so they find it difficult to get the balance.
Yeah.
And the balance is when I say, "Okay, everyone shuts up." That's it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
When we're paired up and it's like, "Okay, tell your partner what you think," and then they're still chatting away, and you say, "Okay, yeah, anyway, next thing," and the person keeps talking, I'm like, I just stop listening. I just look at Sensei and I'm like, "Fuck off." I already bowed. Go away.
Yeah. So balance.
Just one story, because just about Rick Jackson Sensei. He took his knee down with Nakayama Sensei in the old JKI in 1972 or 3, and he said the hardest part of the grading was he had to sit in Seiza for the whole thing, and they did all the black belts first. And he said that was about 40 minutes, and he said the whole thing about the grading was standing up. And he goes, that was the grading in itself, really. And he knew they were all like looking at him because he's a big tall guy, and he's very good at sitting. Failed. No. No, he passed it.
But for me, with my experience is that if I see people in class that are too, that serious, that's when injuries and stuff like that start to happen if you're doing partner work and things. The person that's very, strict and stuff can't have that. Like this morning we're doing Kumite and just flow and be playful and learn and try things and stuff like that. It tends to be, I'm going to have to win and I can't give any ground and stuff.
But especially today, because you know, we haven't done, you know, you've been lucky here. You've been, as professional instructors, I've been training in the bubble. I mean, pretty much everyone, me included, haven't done Kumite for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So you
could see that, like, I need to win, I need to, you know, sort of get the upper hand and stuff, rather than just being like...
Or, you know, all distance was completely off. And but I mean, generally, I remember pre-lockdown doing it twice. We did a course, and I said, we're going to do June Kumite now. No one get injured. You know, no one's going to get injured. I did that conversation what you do. We're going to talk. I did the demonstrate. Oh, you doing? Oh, look, don't. I said, no blocking. And then 2 people got injured within the first 5 minutes. One of them had to go to the hospital with a dislocated shoulder.
What?
Yeah, like a self-injury. Wasn't good. Yeah, it was all one of those things. He was just a very clumsy person. And then someone else like, literally kicked, you know. But so I mean, when I'm next to a Kumite class, I'm going to say, do not get injured. Yeah. Beat yourself.
But men and their egos.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, so that was a really good question though. Much misunderstood and full of cultural differences. I mean, I remember on the Crystal Palace courses, you'd meet people from all around the world, and I got punched full in the face on a counter by some guy from a country, and the drill was like Ippon Kumite, something. And I think because I got long arms, I think touched him on Oizuki, and really didn't like it. Oh no, I know they were got that. They didn't like me, and then I did that block, but I blocked and countered, and he blocked my block and punched me in the face.
I've heard of people doing that as well. And I'm like, well, that was great and all, but you knew that punch was coming, and also that's not.
Well, the whole everyone from that trip was famous for doing that. But I remember watching him, and he failed his 4th down, and it was like, that was my sweet revenge.
I remember actually one of the first college courses with the JKS. I was only a young lad, you know, still was like 13, 14. I remember we were doing a drill, you know, back counter sort of thing, back leg drive. And instead of coming and like doing Kizami Yaku and then counter, just doing that drill. And then this grown fucking big built stocky man that I was with, fucking full blown hightoed me in the side of the head. Instead of doing Yaku, we went Kizamizuki Haito, and I went boom, and I was like, oh yeah, always be focused. And I was like, fuck off, man, that's not the drill. Yeah. You're just fucking smacking a fucking Wayne, like. Yeah. Get the fuck. I hate that shit. That's crazy. Or like I remember doing it was what a seminar doing Kihon Karate training, and you know stepping forward Oizuki, and his punch is finished before his leg's even halfway, and you're like that, and you're like, don't mix, like that's what you want. Then we're just going to end up having a fucking fight in 2 minutes if you keep that shit.
All them drills, like I said last night, if you don't do it properly, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever purposely hurt someone, was when I was probably early 20s, early 20s. I started university, so 22 maybe. And there was this guy who used to do kata sensei, used to do kind of really intensive black and brown belt training, weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was always lots of people there and always lots of kumite. And there was this guy who he was also, he did Aikido, I seem to remember, and so he had a really strong grip. He was he was higher grade than me, I think, a few years older than me, and a real strong grip, but he had big forearms. And we would do this big long line, so 2 people, okay, top one, go down to the bottom, a bit like you were doing yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so everyone who was kind of going against him were like limping away, because we would do like Joran Chudan Maigeri, kind of Kihon Ippon kind of thing, and every time someone attacked Maigeri, he'd strong arm it. And to be fair, thinking back, fair play to him. Like if someone's kicking you Maigeri, but every time, because they were kind of doing it with just block counter kind of thing, but he was like really sticking in that Giramburai block. And as I was getting closer, I was like getting more and more pissed off, because they were like, every single time getting more and more pissed off. So it was my turn. I was like, he attacked, and then it was my attack, and he blocked it hard. I was like, oh, okay. And then the Chudan, he blocked it really hard. I was like, okay. And so it was Maigeri, and I just knew he was going to kind of, and so I just kicked him as hard as I could. And he went down to block, and he went, and I broke his arm.
Yeah.
And I thought,
this is karate.
I thought, you deserve that, mate.
Yeah. Did it hurt your leg?
No.
I hope he went bus afterwards, otherwise he'd be very distressed.
That was dangling. there we go. Right, last philosophical question. Have you got anything?
Oh God, I forgot about that. Oh, yes, okay. So, karate and commerce. As professional instructors, what do you think the balance is between Mac Dojo, Quality Dojo, and making a living from karate? Is that a good question?
It is, because this is their future.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I knew it. I could have asked you about Shotokan and Kata, so I've been kind. But it's, I mean, I find it interesting as well. There's a very fine line, isn't there, between that?
I was listening to it was Russell Brand.
That's half of our viewership just gone like.
Russell Brand. He's a bit eccentric, and I like some of his stuff. I don't like a lot of stuff I don't like. But one of the things he says is like everything has to come from a place of truth, and I think that's true. I think if you're starting a dojo, you have to be genuine, teach what you know, and teach it well. And if you're doing that, it should work out.
I mean, yeah, but in terms of, well,
for
pricing,
example,
I'm talking about. Yeah.
I think what I mean by what I just said there is like, for example, somebody told me once, oh, you should start, teaching a bit of the kickboxing stuff, a bit of the jiu-jitsu and things like that. It's like, yeah, and that would attract certain people, but is it going to? Is one, you're not good enough, so it's like it waters down your expertise. And second of all, is that sustainable? Will people stick with something when it's sort of like again, jack of all trades, master of none? If you stick to what you know, which is Shotokan Karate, and you teach Shotokan Karate, and you can play about with all the other things as well, but if you're genuinely doing that, I think your student base will be sustainable. You're capable of creating a large student base, and it will be sustainable because you're putting out a genuine product and something that you're genuinely passionate about and can do really well. In terms of pricing, I mean, pricing just depends on your location.
Well, I suppose what I'm trying to say, I remember years ago knowing someone, and who was just becoming a professional instructor, and he meant well. He said things, I've got to do a grading next week. I've got a gas bill. So I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is that you need to have a good product. But you need the business skills, like hopefully you're learning here. So you never have to compromise yourself. Because I was self-employed for a long time, and you need to pay the bills. So I think to pay the bills with karate, you need to run as a business. And as long as you're selling a good product, I think that's the most important thing. Because lots of Mac dojos have no foundation, but they're very well run. Yeah. So they've got marketing, they've got memes, they've got great posters, and a lot of empty words. And
a big turnover rate. But always new students coming in as the old ones leave.
Yeah, there's a guy in my town, and he's got like he's not affiliated to anyone. He's got no pedigree at all, and very few videos. And it's when you join, it's very expensive. I think it's just £100 to get in the door, and then you've got to buy a dogi, and you've got 2 patches and that type of stuff. And in the whole town, I get lots of people who've left him because he's getting almost a pretty much bad name now. Everyone goes, "Oh, don't go there." But he's raked in thousands over the past 5 years.
But again, I think my first instructor had a very busy dojo.
Yeah.
But you could see that I was probably, me and a couple of others were there and didn't give up karate, but ended up leaving anyway.
Yeah.
And the ones who did give up karate were giving up because that same sort of thing. He had a great sort of massive student base, and then eventually the turnover just keeps happening. You get a few loyalists who love the karate and stick with it, and then over the years the numbers start to go down and dwindle because he's not actually genuinely doing anything that's worthwhile or inspires people to make it a part of their life, which is what martial arts is. I think it's a lifestyle, and what you're doing is you're trying to give people something that will benefit their life in general.
Well, that's what the Mac dojos tell you as well. I mean, this guy in my town, he goes, we are a professional martial arts building. Do you want to learn your karate in a village hall?
But they're not being truthful to themselves, so are they?
But again, it's a PR spiel,
Yeah. And I think, in terms of business-wise and making money and stuff, like the conversation we had off camera before, you find a way, if you're really passionate about it and you're giving it your all.
Well, I think, you have to work very hard like you did. So, you have to,
I think the biggest thing is consistency. One of the biggest lesson I've taken from you is consistency with everything. You just have to, when you don't want to do it, you just have to get up and get it done and do do your job at the end of the day. And if you're being consistent and people see that you're passionate and being consistent and producing a quality product all the time, then people will pay money for it.
Mm-hmm. My way to paraphrase what you two are saying is that if you have a discipline that you are pursuing with sincerity, it will sell itself. Not by magic. You still need to have basic business skills and you need to advertise, but you don't need to embellish the content of what you're teaching in order to sell it, because we've pretty much dedicated our lives to it. We have dedicated our lives to this, so why should we not be able to share it in a way that's engaging? And when you start being insincere, when you start embellishing the content or grading people just to keep the money raking in, if you're operating on that basis, then you won't have basically what we have here, which is people who are training for years and years and years, coming back all the time because they know that we're doing it because we care about it, and that has fostered this sense of community in the dojo, and it really is a really nice community. Everybody cares about one another, is kind to one another. You won't get that if you're, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, pretending to be something that you're not.
Well, also, I think what we've all done is build a community. So, for example, Scott we did a course a while ago for someone, and they booked him just for the day, and he said, "Can you stay and go for a meal or something?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Because they've never done that before.
Yeah.
Never ever. They just give the instructor money and they'd go. Or some places, the minute you walk in the door and the meter's running, it's a new T-shirt for you to buy, and you are a customer. Mm-hmm. I think when you come to our dojos, you are part of a community. It's almost like, I always say it's a bit like a church. And also what we all do is give our time to people.
I mean,
and
that's
very approachable, aren't we?
Yeah. And you see that it's been built here, like with everyone coming over this week. Like it's like seeing your aunties and uncles for me. Like it's Auntie Amanda and Auntie Sandra coming over and
Granddad Simon.
Grandpa Simon.
Kihon.
It's like your son distant relations coming to visit. It's a little bit like that. It's nice.
I think obviously we're contractually obliged to say this every single podcast, but it's people's innate ability to recognise quality.
Oh, he said it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, you get that? Who won the bet? Yeah.
That's it. Robert Piercy gets his little check.
Because the point is that like everything that we've talked about is just that quality. So if whatever you do, if you're doing it with quality, then you're gonna get rewarded. And like that might sound really hippie, but it's true, and people will recognise that. And if you're passionate about it, like you were saying, and you deliver that knowledge with the passion that you genuinely have, and with the heartfelt feeling that this really is of value, and you value it, then people will value it. Whereas if you're teaching some Mickey Mouse technique that you don't really believe in, people pick up that straight away. So, yeah, I mean, like these McDojos, that McDojo life is all about kind of taking these McDojos and saying, this is BS, this will never work.
And also all those people that have access now to YouTube. Yep. And you can see something, wait a minute.
Yeah. and people will see it. People will see that you don't believe in it, so why should I?
Yeah.
But if you do believe in it, and because it has value, then people will value it, and that's all you need to do.
So the last question is, this is a model of a big community, big, busy full-time dojo. How do you see having a small private dojo serious black belts, or would you have a similar model to this?
Well, I think this is the best way to teach people karate, for sure. I think
classes every day.
Class, I think you have to have classes just about or you build up to that.
Yeah.
You can't do classes every day straight off the bat, and especially by yourself. Eventually, you'll burn yourself out trying to do that. It needs to be sustainable for yourself, for your own body, your own mental.
You've done that for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I think also one of the biggest differences of karate is nowadays the 1 hour once a week model is somehow kind of standard for lots of people, and we all know that's fine, but it takes a hell of a long time to get into that.
And that's most of the students, especially the young ones, are 1 hour once a week.
Yeah.
So the progress is a little bit slower, but again, if they come and they enjoy the lesson, they'll keep coming.
Yeah, but what you've got then in this, because the kids can come on once a week, and then they can say, I can come another day.
Because that's it, most white belts are doing one class, 1 hour once a week.
Yeah.
Most brown belts are not doing,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, they wanna get
hobby.
around.
They're kind of slowly transitioning to, actually, I really like this, or I like something else better, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And like as they just naturally transition through that grading system, then they'll make the choice or they'll leave, and that's fine. Yeah.
And I think one of the big things I've taken away from here is that you need to bring the next generation along, which is something that I've seen many places I've trained at fail at time and time again. And they get too precious about their business, the business side of it. They get a bit too precious, and they're not willing to share a bit in order to keep the thing alive and going and progressing. So, for example, young Carl's 18, you know, fully plan on being an employee here at some point, at some stage. Young Caitlin as well. Yeah.
I think there's a history of also some karate instructors taking advantage of the students. Oh, can you teach on Wednesday for me? Oh, thanks. And then suddenly they teach every Wednesday, and then they never get paid. And you know, and if you ask about it, you're being somehow disrespectful or disloyal.
I mean, when our underlings cover for us, we pay them.
Yeah. You know, but I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with helping out, you know, but it's just, and also giving some recognition for it, you know, or thanks even. Thanks.
Do you look at you know, the underlings and plan which ones you're going to poach for your dojo?
I already know, I've got the list.
And you too.
Good luck back to the big salaries I give them.
Good luck transporting all those children from Ireland to your new dojo in Mozambique.
San Sebastian. He was in San Sebastian, don't you know?
That's a great idea.
As long as it's somewhere Ryanair go, I'll come.
I'll have to learn Basco.
Oh yeah.
Everyone can speak Spanish there.
Okay, well, I think we have gave in the and we don't realise that my phone stopped recording 10 minutes ago.
It's still a battery or something, for sure.
I'm not going to check.
Okay, well, we'll have a final kampai shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, kampai. We'll pretend to drink.
Yeah, I've got no water.